Next up is MoroccanOil Blonde Voyage powder lightener that retails for $24 for a 17.6 ounce container. Now this lightener claims to give you up to 9 levels of lift, and it's a fast acting lightener that also helps with neutralization, and it's great for all application methods. Some features and benefits is that it's powered by Bond Care plus Argan ID system that protects and nourishes the hair during the lightening service, strengthens hair and reinforces bonds to help reduce breakage and damage, and it's a gentle, non-irritating formula. Now I've actually used this lightener before. We have it in my salon. I'm pretty familiar with it, and I do agree it is a great lightener, but I've never tested it on the level 2 swatches, which I'm really excited to do today. Now this container is a little unique. It has this little spout here, and I actually don't use it in this way, so part of the reason is I honestly like scooping it out of a container. That's just my preference. So let's go ahead and mix this up. And because I'm using MoroccanOil lightener, I'm also using a MoroccanOil brush and the MoroccanOil whisk. Now the way you mix this up is at a 1 to 1.5 or up to 1 to 2. So we're gonna be doing 1 to 2 for this test. So let's go ahead and dispense this. I actually haven't really ever paid attention to the dust factor, so that'll be kind of interesting. I see a little bit of dust, but not anything super crazy. Oh no, maybe, never mind. 911, 911. And this is partly why I don't really like the little dispensing like that. Because yeah, now that you can see it, it's like, did you see that? It like shot out. Okay, so this is pretty dusty. And now I'm gonna mix up 1 to 2 so that we can be really fair with this test. So like I mentioned, the powder is kind of like a little sandy. It has like a sandy kind of rocky texture. Now smell wise, honestly, I can't really smell this lightener too much other than like when it's dusting around. And you can see that it's mixing up pretty well. It does take a minute to kind of thicken up. And I think because I've used this lightener before, I just kind of know how it works. And now that it's mixed together, I'm starting to get the fragrance activated. So let's do a little snip test. This is really strong for sure. Like you can really smell that ammonia in it. And at this 1 to 2 mixing ratio where it's at, this wouldn't necessarily be like my most favorable consistency because you can see it's a little like runny, but this is a 1 to 2. It does give you like another option at a lower mixing ratio like most bleach lighteners do. So like I said, this is one that you kind of like need to let it sit and thicken up a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up for our application and we'll do the brush test. Now it's only been about 60 seconds to set this up, but you can already tell in just that little bit of time, like look at how thick this got. So let's try this out now by scooping it on the brush. And this is why I really like this lightener so much, because of the precision and the viscosity. I just really like how it feels on my brush. Let's go ahead and put this on. The only like probably kind of negative for me with this lightener as far as like application goes is there tends to be kind of like these little rocks, little tiny granules that are just almost impossible to mix up. But after you let it kind of sit in the bowl for just, like I said, a few minutes, it starts to kind of mix together really nicely. And it just feels so smooth in the foil. And I almost wish like this was the first time I was using it so I could have a complete blind test to this, but the results on this swatch will definitely be a surprise for me. I do think getting this lightener onto the hair makes it really easy, especially when it comes to saturation. I'm really able to work the lightener through all sides of the hair, ensuring that I'm gonna get the best lift. There's some lighteners that are just kind of like almost harder to push through. Now, one thing that I did forget to mention is that if you are going to do on-scalp applications, you do not want to go past that 20 volume developer, and the processing time on this is up to 50 minutes. And now we wait. Now that the timer has gone off, it's been 50 minutes. Like I mentioned, I've used this lightener before, but I am blown away at how much swell factor we got with this. Like, look how puffy this is in the bowl. Like, this is insane. Like, this is actually shocking to me, and it's probably because I've never let a bowl of lightener with this much lightener sit in the bowl, but definitely swell factor is wow factor for me. And kind of what's going on in this foil too, pretty puffy, very much like the first one that we tested. So I'm just kind of surprised. I know that it does swell, and you know, again, maybe you get different results with the body heat, and usually that increases the swell factor, but let's go ahead and open this up. And no surprise here, I was expecting it to give me a really great lift. It so far looks amazing, but definitely swell factor here. Lots going on for sure, so that could be a deterrent for some. I definitely see a really great lift. However, the blue can play a little trick on your eyes, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove this so we can give you the results. But overall, I can't say it's like the smoothest feeling, but it also doesn't feel super dry or dehydrating. So let me go ahead and take this out. Now that I have the MoroccanOil swatch rinsed out, shampooed, and dried, I'm really impressed with the lift that we got. This almost looks like it could be an 8, but I'll size it up to the level finder in just a second. Now, as far as integrity goes, it does feel pretty nice. Again, I'd probably say like middle of the road for me on this one. It doesn't feel dry, but it doesn't feel like the most silkiest hair could ever feel like, but I do feel like it does feel nice. And since this is a lightener that I am familiar with, I honestly was expecting nothing less than amazing lifting results. And a level 8 is the golden zone for me. So let's go ahead and see if it truly lifted to that level 8. So right off the bat, looking at this, I know for a fact this is not a 7. There are no orangey tones at all in this, but I definitely see the gold. I see a solid level 8. I might even see a little bit of 9s kind of poking through those ends, but overall, I really feel like I'm seeing that level 8 swatch is a solid level 8 for me, which again, that level 8 is the golden zone. Anything that's 8 and above, I can definitely control. But 8 is also a great level to enhance warmth. So I'm really loving this lift that we got, especially on a level 2 swatch. Now looking at this side by side to the level 2 swatch, you can see we got a really great lift. Now on the downside for this lightener, we had two things that were kind of like a negative, and that was definitely the dust factor and then also the swelling. So if that is a concern for you and you want to maybe try to mitigate that, like what we do in our salon is we add it into a container to minimize the dust. And then the swell factor, I feel like that's a matter of just learning how the bleach lightener works. And you can, foil a little less away from the scalp or little things like that as you learn how to work with it, or maybe even lower your volume of developer that you're using. But nonetheless, this did an amazing job, and this is one that I will definitely continue to use. And like I said, this is a great lightener, so I would definitely recommend it. If you like this video and want to watch another one, click here. And if you want to watch the full video, click here. And for more education, head on over to morellamanelli.com or hairbnbuniversity.com.